Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the AI Integrations Podcast. We are back for episode 2. You have me, Benjamin Cowell, and joining us again today is Spencer Thompson. We are back to talk about AI, some of the exciting new things going on in the world of AI, some of the new tech out there, and some of the ways we're approaching it. How you doing today, Spencer?
Doing well. Excited to talk about AI as always, Ben.
Awesome. Okay, we're just going to jump right in. One of the first things I wanted to talk about is ChatGPT, OpenAI, has been announcing stuff, it seems like every single day. One of the latest things they are announcing is both ChatGPT's agent, which can basically do multi-step jobs on a virtual computer, basically control everything almost like a human is the idea, like a real human employee, but as an AI agent. And they've also announced ChatGPT 5.0, which is going to be coming soon, which they're talking about is a game changer. And, they're talking about being able to fill forms for people, book your flights, kind of do it all. Love to hear your thoughts, kind of what's the good, the bad, the ugly right now? What's kind of our current state, and where do you see this going?
Yeah, so I'll start off by talking about the agent, and then we can circle back towards GPT-5 afterwards. I think ChatGPT's new agent reminds me of GPT-3 in the sense that it's a really cool tool, but it still has a ways to go as far as it's showing signs of promise, but it still needs some refinement, and that's obviously how new products are when you first release them.
Got it. And as far as, it's got some room to go and it needs some refinement, what kind of stuff are dive into it. I'm kind of curious what your experience with this agentic approach is so far.
Yeah, so again, it's great. I'm not trying to downplay it, but it requires multi-step prompting to get a lot of things done. Where it in the correct environment with the correct data. Yes, I'm sure it can quote one-shot things and do things start to finish in a nice manner. In my experience, when I've been using it, it requires checking in. Say you're wanting to make a spreadsheet. About halfway through, you might have to say, no, this data was supposed to go in column I, not, in column G, and, some things along those lines. But it's showing signs of promise, and I think it's really cool for what it's showing the AI industry is going to do over the next year.
Gotcha. And with this new agentic technology going on, I'm seeing it pop up all over the place. I was at the AWS Summit last week, and they're showing it off all over the place there as well. What do you see as the future for this? And more specifically, how do you see this tying into Ava and into AI integrations kind of in the future?
Yeah, so the future of AI is AI that can do more than just answer a question in a text-based format, right? You don't want your AI to just tell you, yeah, you can do this. You want it to go, okay, do you want me to do this for you? So it's really allowing AI to take action on behalf of the user. And we're seeing that in fine-tuned use cases. If it needs to take 5 or 6 actions, there's a lot of great agents out there that are capable of doing that, not just from OpenAI, but what OpenAI is trying to achieve in this new complex agent is an agent that's capable of taking thousands of different or completing thousands of different tasks. If they just wanted to make an agent for spreadsheets, that'd be a lot easier than what they're trying to do, which is spreadsheets, Gmail, Google Drive, information finding, internet browsing, terminal use. The more actions an agent needs to take, the more complex it gets when it comes to building it.
And would you argue they're trying to do too much at once, or do you think it's just it's in its infancy? It's just going to.
I think it's in its infancy. Again, it reminds me of when GPT-3 came out. GPT-3 blew my mind, not because of how it was in its current state. But because of, if you thought, 6 months, a year down the road, if they refined the technology and it got better, what that would mean. And so I think they're agents at that same point of it's showing promise. And I'm sure in 6 months we'll have a very different conversation about it. But that's kind of my 2 cents on their agent release.
Gotcha. And what's your guess on just general timeline? Are you assuming until this stuff's in a position where it really is impactful, it's making a difference, moving the needle?
I would
Are we
say it's
talking
making
days,
it.
weeks, months?
I'd say it's making a difference right now, but to where we get to where, you can do long, complex, say 30, 45-minute tasks without any human in the loop. I would say we're probably 3 to 6 months from that, judging based upon their previous timelines and growth.
Mhm.
Part of that, when you build systems like this, you need the data of how people actually use it. And so I think that that's why they do these infancy style releases, which aren't 100% there, but the way they get from, call it 80 to 100%, is by determining how people are actually using it, what's working well, what's not working well, and then kind of tuning from there. So I think that's the phase we're in with the OpenAI agent right now.
Gotcha. Okay, switching gears a little. On the one hand, here we were just talking about agents, GPT-5. Those things, one of the things they're doing is they're using a massive amount of compute, massive amounts of tokens, and they're driving up costs. On the
Yeah.
flip side, we have Google, who just rolled out Gemini 2.0 Flash Lite, cute name there, and it's marketed as their lowest cost, fastest model yet. We have all these super powerful models coming out now. We also have all these super cheap models coming out. What's the secret to staying cost effective, and how with Ava do we keep up with these constantly evolving, this constantly evolving basically landscape of AIs, if you will, and all these different models? Some are fast, some are expensive, some are cheap, some are deep research, some are shallow. How do you navigate this area?
Yeah, and that's where our expertise comes in, Ben. It's all about knowing the right tool for the right job. So, the same way you wouldn't want to use a semi truck to race a Formula One race or a Formula One car to haul things across town. It's about knowing what tool you need to use and when. So, the diversity of models is actually going to benefit the user greatly because, with Gemini 2.5 Flash Lite, for example, that's a lightweight model, but that lightweight model is going to be much, much, much more cost effective than, the heavyweight O3 Pros of this world. So it's about knowing what model to use and when for what task. It's, you could say the same is even true with humans and like organizations, right? If you task a staff engineer to go build a button on your front end, something relatively simple in the world of software development, you're overpaying for the labor required there. Conversely, if you ask a junior engineer to refactor a whole application, it's probably not going to go well. So it's about knowing the right tool for the right job.
Got it. So, do you mind explaining a little how specifically AI integrations with Ava uses these multiple types of models to do what it needs to do, but also kind of keep that cost down? Because I think one of the big things with AI integrations, we're trying to democratize AI, right? It's all about democratizing AI. One of the main ways we're trying to do that is make it accessible, make it affordable for small businesses, for mom and pops. Are we using our technology to keep it affordable while still making sure we're getting the best for what's out there for our clients?
Yeah, so that goes into knowing the right tool for the right job again. Most of our clients don't need the latest, greatest, most expensive model to do the task that they want their AI to do. So it's kind of a game of what is the cheapest model we can use while still achieving the task where you're never going to notice the difference between, let's say a 4.1 nano and an O3. If you won't notice the difference, we should use the 4.1 nano and save you the money. If you're trying to, summarize an entire employee handbook and then generate a document from that, well, 4.1 nano is not going to be your go-to. You're going to need to pay for a little bit of a heavier lifter there, an O3 style model.
Got it. And now, then my assumption is all this though is handled on a back end where nobody has to ever deal with this. It's always selecting the right model for the task at hand.
Yeah, that's where our expertise lies. We don't expect our clients to know, as you pointed out, the landscape's changing rapidly and there's a ton of options. So we don't expect our clients to know what model that they want to use. We will go ahead and set it up for them. And if you're a huge Grok fan, for example, a huge fan of X and Elon, we can definitely work with specific. Hey, I want to use a Grok model. However, by default, we're just going to choose what we think is best for you. And then if you want to change that, we can have a conversation on the topic.
Gotcha. Can we do any, is there dynamic switching between models where based on the task at hand, it uses different models?
That's something we're working on. Some of our more complex automations, not Ava, but some of these automations we built do that. For example, we'll use O3 to generate a huge document, and 4.1 to allow you to have a conversation with that document. But right now, Ava is not dynamically model switching. That is something we would like to achieve here in the next probably 3 to 6 months.
And that's also something that can be though custom built as needed too.
Correct. Yeah.
Gotcha.
If we had a client that really wanted that, we'd be more than happy to build it for them.
Gotcha. So moving on with all these models, whether they're big models, small models, fast models, slow models, expensive models, or cheap models, they all rely on one thing, obviously, and that's data. Now, mind you, the models themselves are already trained, et cetera. They have data because we're using foundation models and LLMs. But at the same time, now, when we attach Ava to a small business, let's say it's a restaurant, or let's say it's your corner store that has a website, your mom and pop flower shop that has a website, do they have enough data to compete? Because, for example, Meta just spent $14 billion for part of Scale AI. Why did they do that? Just to buy data. It's just so it can feed its models on their oceans of data. Mom and pops don't have oceans of data. What do they have that, and how are we using that data to make this a truly custom product for them and actually support their business when they don't have the mountains of data the fortune companies have?
Yeah. Thankfully, like you pointed out, your local corner store or sushi restaurant doesn't need their own foundational model, so they don't need the amounts of data that a Meta or an OpenAI is going to need. But I will say that these businesses have more data than they realize. A way I like to put it in a non-technical term is anything that's recorded through a computer can be used as data. So in the case of a corner store, you might just think, oh, they've got 500 products on a website. What data do they have? Well, each of those 500 products has data. They have nutrition facts on a candy bar, and so on and so on and so on. So it's really about knowing where to look for the data and then how to overlay it on top of those oceans of data in the foundational models. And then again, that kind of factors into knowing the right tool for the job. You might use a foundational model that has a little more knowledge on, say, mathematics if you're trying to do a mathematic model, and so on and so forth.
Got it. And so the mom and pops actually do have enough data then to make it worthwhile. And
very much so.
So with Ava, how custom does it get? For example, is it going to, when someone interacts with Ava, let's say it's a mom and pop flower shop, for example, right? Cool. And they go on, they ask about the flowers. Is it going to just use the information on that customer's website, let's say, about the flowers? Or is it also going to use the internet and be able to tell someone, oh yeah, these flowers mean such and such about, whatever around, who knows what it may be. Is Ava going to search the web and take the best of that data and combine it with the website's data? Or is it going to stick just to the website's data? How does that work?
So that's a fine line. We leave it up to our customers. Sometimes you wouldn't want your, say we're building Jeff's flower shop. You wouldn't want Jeff's flower shop to go, oh, hey, by the way, down the street, Susie's flower shop offers these tulips for $2 less. So, there's a fine line there on how much background information we give these AIs. But I will say, as you pointed out, these foundational models are trained on mind-boggling amounts of data. So a lot of them have a ton of context on what you do without us needing to add it in there. That also being said, we work with a driving school, for example, and there's all the data around the driving school, and how much does it cost for the permit test, what's the process look like, etc. Another frequently asked question they get is, well, when I go to the DMV, do I need to bring X paperwork? So in that case, we actually uploaded data from the DMV as well as the driving school to make sure that Ava really knew the exact data we needed it to.
Got it. So what businesses is Ava really suited for? Like, are there businesses that don't have the data? Or let's say you don't have any data. Is there still a use for an AI chatbot on your website?
So I would be challenged to think of a business that doesn't have any data in the year 2025. We are in a very digital world, and even those businesses that are against technology, they still probably use a computer to communicate with their customers via email, or they have some kind of CRM or something along those lines. So I wouldn't say there's any absolute, as in, like, most businesses won't have any data. And if you don't have any data, I will go ahead and say Ava's probably not for you. But I would say probably 95% or more of businesses have sufficient data to create a good AI system.
So if you have a website, basically, you probably have the data too.
Correct. Yeah.
So let's say I'm that small business owner, right? I have the flower shop or the driving school. Get a custom chatbot for my website. Great. I now have a custom AI chatbot. Woohoo! I'm up to speed with AI. I'm a player now in the AI world. What's it actually going to do for me? As an average mom and pop business, what will having Ava actually do for me? Is it, why mess with it? Running small businesses, every nickel and dime counts.
Most simply put, it's going to streamline your customers' access to information. So while the data may be on your website, maybe it's 3 clicks from the homepage buried in a PDF. That takes the customer clicking around your website, finding where the data is, and manually sifting through information. And in today's digital age, we are all about instant gratification, quick access to information. People aren't even going to the second page of Google. So what makes you think that they're going to go to the third, fourth, fifth page of your website? So rather than having that information buried on your website, you're going to have an AI system on your homepage that knows all that information. So the user won't need to dig through all the data. They can just ask, the information that would have been in that PDF on the third page.
And the current users of Ava,
yeah,
how much value are they already seeing from it? Like, is it handling their customer service requests? Is it reducing their phone calls? Is it reducing the amount of hours they're having to work? A lot of mom and pops are small shops run by 1-2 people, maybe 3. Is Ava really lightening the load?
Yeah, so I'll go to our driving school example again. That client automated over 1,300 messages last month. So if you think about that, how many phone calls did it save with that 1,300 messages? 1,300 messages over about, I think it was 800 conversations. So Ava had 800 conversations on behalf of the business. If you pretend, let's say even half of those people would have called, that's 400 calls last month that driving school didn't have to answer. And or another thing I like to think about is how many customers bought because they had access to the information and they got that instant gratification that might not have if Ava wasn't there.
That's the point I was going to go with. When you said 800 interactions with it last month, right? I wonder how many of those 800 people who landed on the website and had a chat with Ava would never have gotten more information if they had just had a website, right? That's something I don't know. Have you heard any numbers yet? Has this increased retention sales, or are we hoping to hear back, or nobody's sharing yet?
Hard data yet, but I think you could speculate. Let's say it's even 50% or 25% of those 800. That's 200 to 400 customers that might not have been customers had they not had that conversation with Ava. At the price point of these driving schools products, it would only take 10 of those customers, actually less, to pay for Ava for the entire month. Mm-hmm. So if you think it's helping convert at a minimum, say 10%, which I think is a pretty low ballpark number of these additional queries, it's going to go ahead and pay for itself. I will say none of our customers have ever complained about price, and the bigger the bill, the more use they're getting out of it. And typically the happier they are even. I have customers like, oh, that's awesome. I automated that much last month.
Got it. And then, so for those mom and pops, right, it's really about time saving, I would argue, more than anything else is going to matter to them. And that's something where what you're saying is that's tangible already.
Oh, yeah.
Got it. And then as these grow, as they develop, as Ava goes on, do you think we're going to be able to maintain that price point long term? Is this something where, one of the big fears of people, especially go back to the cell phone era, was you start a plan at X dollars a month. Oh, this was huge with the internet too. And as soon as the promo period runs out, all of a sudden your $39.99 goes to $99.99 or $100. It always gets nuts with subscriptions. What's the plan for Ava?
We're planning on keeping it at the same price, maybe even making it cheaper as time goes on. There's a thing that's happening in the AI world right now, and they're calling it kind of the race to the bottom. That they realize that if all these AIs are super expensive to use, people aren't going to be using them. And, the big companies as well as us want people to use them. So I would speculate, if anything, over the next year or two, Ava will get cheaper, not more expensive.
If Ava's going to get cheaper, which is already one of the things we're doing, I think better than almost anyone else, making top of the line affordable AI for small business. In fact, nobody's really doing it right now. To get in the AI game, you got to have a giant budget and enterprise, which we're trying to change. And you're saying that we might get cheaper through time, not more expensive. How do you feel about competition in this space as it goes on? Do you think it's going to be a race to the bottom, a race to the top? Do you think there's going to be 100 people doing what we're doing, or 3 of us? How do you think? What's your predictions?
I think there's going to be thousands eventually. And not to talk up my own competition here, but I do think that when websites first came out, being a web developer was a super, call it, relatively niche job market. There wasn't that many of them, and it was kind of expensive. And as the demand for AI grows, and as there's 33 million small businesses in the US, so there's plenty of room for people doing what we do, helping those small businesses use AI. And I think that as the market grows, there will be more competition and more people doing it.
Awesome. One final question for you. AI constantly evolving, constantly changing, new stuff constantly releasing. I mean, today we are already talking about agentic. We're talking about ChatGPT 5. We're talking about Google 2.0 flashlight. Everything's going on. Meta buying Scale AI. All this is happening like crazy. For you right now, as the CEO of AI Integrations with Ava, what upcoming technologies in AI are you most excited about to add to Ava when they come and be able to hand over to small business owners?
Yeah, I am most excited for voice integration. That's our next major thing on our roadmap. So you can have a voice conversation with Ava the same way you would a Siri or an Alexa. I think that'll provide even easier access to information for the customers, leading to even more usage, which again, I believe benefits the business. And then from there, after voice integration, let's hook Ava up to your local phone system, and let's let Ava start taking some calls for you. And then let's hook it up to your POS, and let's let it take the call and place the order. And I think eventually, by the end of the year, Ava should be able to take a call and place an order for you on behalf of the business, which I'm sure most small business owners could understand the utility that would come from that.
Yeah, that would be huge. And then one final one I've been thinking about is Ava at some point, and I'm going to go off script here a bit, but is Ava going to be an app? And
yeah,
if so, once Ava's an app, and this is something we have not talked about, is there going to be a time when, let's say, any company on Ava, has Ava on their website, if you could go to the Ava app, could you then effectively reverse, instead of going to the website and interacting with Ava, could you go to the Ava app and interact with, say, any of the websites out there connected to Ava?
Yeah, that's definitely technologically feasible. I will say the other things we just discussed earlier are definitely priority over that, but I could see us doing that in 2026 for sure.
Gotcha. And yeah, I was just thinking, imagine, let's say we grow a user base. We have 100,000, a million businesses on here, right? Because someone go to the Ava app and go, I really need this. And then Ava will be able to go through, find which business has that, and they go, yeah, here's a link directly to their whatever page. And then be able to, use Ava in reverse, not just from the website's point of view, but from Ava's point of view.
Yeah. And actually something I'm even a little more excited for that, you and I haven't discussed as well is eventually I'd like to make Ava into a Chrome extension. So you as the customer now could take Ava with you to any website you're going to. So even if a website doesn't have a chatbot, which I believe most websites should, you would have one that would come with you, and it would know, it would real quickly understand the information on the website and provide you that streamlined access, and additionally have context on you, what you like, your conversation histories, etc. Think of it as like a ChatGPT Chrome browser extension of sorts.
That's arguably super cool, like more cool than even the idea I had as an app that works in reverse, having a Chrome extension. I think we can put a pin in that one and bring it up in another podcast, talk more on it, because I think that's cool. I said, well, yeah, we haven't discussed that yet, but yeah, I think it'd be fun to get into that. But yeah, anything else, Spencer, that you have that you wanted to share today with the audience?
Yeah, I know we briefly mentioned GPT-5, but I just wanted to share. I was watching a podcast you actually sent me with Theo Vaughn and Sam Altman, I believe, are the two people in that podcast. Am I
Yes,
correct in
that was
saying that?
this past weekend. Theo Vaughn and Sam Altman.
Yeah, so there's something really cool, and that Sam Altman said in that podcast about GPT-5. In his morning workflow, he gets emailed a bunch of questions from, I'm assuming, all kinds of people, from engineers to marketing people, etc. I think Sam Altman is incredibly intelligent, but even him, he can't know everything. So he had this question emailed to him, and he's been testing GPT-5 obviously prior to the release. And so he didn't know the answer to this question, relatively complex question, the way he makes it sound. And so he just threw it in GPT-5, and sounds like his jaw hit the floor a little bit with how impressed he was on what GPT-5 responded with.
And when Sam Altman's job is hitting the floor on what his own product can do, you might want to pay attention.
Yeah, I think GPT-5 will be the biggest leap we've seen in OpenAI's models since, the GPT-3 in the playground to ChatGPT.
And there you have it, folks. GPT will be the greatest thing since sliced bread. You heard it here first. Thank you, everyone, for your time today. Have a wonderful day. If you have any questions, please drop them in any one of the various chats where you find us, and we will be happy to answer them on another podcast. We are going to be around hopefully Fridays right around noon Eastern. We are aiming for a weekly to bi-weekly schedule, still figuring it out as we go here. So any feedback, please let us know. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you next time.
Have a great day, guys.
Take care, everybody.